And we're on air. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Soapbox. This is episode beta 1. And my name is Ardell Smith, and I have a co host. His name is.
Charles Hall.
And together we are completely unrelated. But we're just a couple guys who are looking to have fun, entertaining you, informing you, and doing everything that we can to just make it a better world for all of us. So, this is the weekend of Easter, if you're a Christian or just anybody who happens to live in a country that is Christian primarily. So there's a lot of stuff going on with Easter. I know a lot of kids want to go out and dig in the candy and have all that kind of good stuff. And one of the problems with doing that is that there's so much sugar out there. I myself, I'm a diabetic, and I have to actually watch what I eat. And sugar is just so alluring. It is so difficult to stay away from. And so, like, if I want to participate in Easter and have like a little Easter basket with some candy and things like that, Charles, can you recommend something to do that maybe would help out with the candy and the sugar and the whole Easter thing?
Yes, definitely. I have all kinds of tips, recommendations, ideas that I could pose to you, and I know that we're I was going to say engineered, but this isn't Prometheus. Anyways. We are biologically wired to crave sugar because it's just a way for us to get calories, and it incentivizes us to it. There's all this kind of neurochemistry that goes along, and I would be living in a delusional world if I thought that I could get people to eat just healthy starches and healthy carbohydrates their whole life. So I understand people indulge, they have their cheat days, people just eat whenever they feel like eating candy, and it's Easter, so their kids are going to have candy if they have kids, or you're just going to walk into a Walmart or walk into a CVS, and they're going to see this like tall stack of all kinds of Easter candies that
Yeah,
takes up half an aisle.
that wall of candy.
The wall. Yeah, and of course afterwards, it's going to be all discounted, so people are going to be buying it even more. The post Easter jump into all things discounted candy. All right, so I wanted to touch a little bit on sugar free, and there's the kind of the old school sugar free, which is they use the power of chemistry, better living through chemistry, I think was the phrase from the 1950s and 60s. And, they just sort of tried to attack this whole calorie problem with creating zero calorie artificial sweeteners and making things sugar free. And that's carried over even until now. And it's evolved a little bit more with some other things that you can put in that maybe have been touted as not as dangerous. And let me see here. So there is an article that I found on, again, health.com, just like I mentioned last week. And it has a list of 13 sugar substitutes. Now, not all of them are sugar-free, but I saw an interesting one that I wanted to mention. And I think that the common name for it is Sonnet or Sweet 1. And it was approved in 1988 by the Food and Drug Administration. And its proper name is acesulfamine potassium, and because it's still around. It's been around for not just 22 years, but it's been around for a lot longer than that. 1988. It's about 30 years, and it's so far so good. No problems have surfaced. However, according to what is included in the article, there's pre-market testing was sparse. And of course, they've found links to cancer, and they've found that there's really kind of a problem with respect to it being a foreign substance to the body. So, like I mentioned a second ago,
But what's it made of? I mean, is
asulfamine potassium.
no, I
That's
mean,
what it's.
is that from a plant, or like, what is that?
It's uh, it's synthetic. Yeah, I mean the name pretty much is it's in the name. I mean they give you the scientific name. They don't say that agave nectar comes from the agave plant.
Yeah.
And so the general idea you can think of is you have this body and it evolved with whatever was around it. And we didn't always have these chemicals to evolve with. So it's just sort of all of a sudden it's thrust into the food supply and you're imbibing it. So the body, it's sort of like, what the heck is this? And when it doesn't know what to do with it, it basically just stores it in fat deposits in your body. And that turns into essentially, if it turns out to be concretely bad for us, it's that stuff sitting in your fat. It's like a time bomb. So when that fat dissolves, it goes into your bloodstream, and it affects your body, and your liver might not be able to handle it because there's other things going on, or you're just basically you're older and you can't metabolize it as effectively and excrete it as effectively.
Well, I just want to know if it's actually at least not as bad as sugar. Because like sugar, when I eat sugar, it, it's like a trade off. I can see it like an eclair, and you look at it and you think, oh, I have 10 toes. I could live with nine.
uh, yeah, well, the whole trade-off thing is a good point actually, because it tastes so sweet, and our brain's releasing dopamine, which is a pleasure neurotransmitter, and we're just like, we're leaning back in our chair like as if we're, you know, tripping, or if we're taking in some kind of, or we got a prescription for our hurt shoulder, and we got all these narcotics or these opioids. We're just like, oh, this feels so good.
That's pretty much it. I just I personally I do feel that sugar that's in like when I see a bag of Oreos, I completely understand how people who are hooked on crack feel. That or even meth. I mean, you just look at that and you go, oh, one won't hurt, and before you know it, all 13 are gone.
No, seriously, I've been there. In college, I used to do that. I used to buy whole bags of cookies, and I would eat the whole thing.
Yeah, you sit there, you look at this bag, you go, this bag is so big, it should last like a month, and then and then come Monday, you're going, where'd all those cookies go? I just bought them like yesterday.
That's when you get the Costco membership, right?
That's right. You just get that pallet, a huge freaking pallet of like Twinkies.
You're like, well, got to expand the property. I needed to build that tool shed in the back. It's like, oh, what are you gonna put in it? Like a bunch of tools? Like, nope.
There
You're
you
gonna put
go. Yeah,
a pallet of Nabisco.
that's true. So, what about? So we're talking about like just sugar being bad. You're saying that I could go out and put together like a nice Easter basket for the kids or a loved one or something like that that would have some healthy stuff in it.
Yeah, you could get regular raw cane sugar in candy, and they sell it, but health food stores or online basically is the only option for you. And that's why I say it's kind of not really a product or a marketing type thing. It's really more just a market availability. It's about kind of, why do you want the candy? You know, you got to kind of get above the candy. It's like the whole higher power and Alcoholics Anonymous. You just sort of got to get above the whole thing and look back down on the bigger picture. So that's why I say just eat your candy, and just know that it's full of this stuff that your body doesn't recognize, and maybe that might pique your interest into looking into sweets that are have stevia in them, or are sweetened with honey, or sweetened with, agave nectar really isn't that good, but it's better than high fructose corn syrup or sugar or health one, or what is it called, sugar one, sweet one.
Ah,
Yeah, asulfamine potassium. So
cool.
there's just improvements you can make. Sugar is a very tricky substance to deal with because it has so many links to habit forming behaviors, and it's so prevalent. It's just everywhere. And but there is hope.
Ah, great. Perfect. My, actually, our producer just handed me a box, um, and wrote on it, "Would I like to do an unboxing?" I,
I think that would be a good idea.
so this is our first unboxing, and because this is a beta show, it's a beta box, meaning it's just a box, which makes it even more exciting because I have absolutely no idea what's in it. And so we're going to find out together. So I've got the box. I don't want to show you the label because the label will have my address, and then you'll be outside the house like somebody from It Follows. uh, Charles, have you seen that movie, It Follows?
I haven't even heard of it.
Oh no, I'll tell you about it. It's an excellent film. It's very good, very well done. So now I'm opening the box, cutting the top open here. I'm trying to do this fairly quick. If I did it slow, then I would just be a brain surgeon running for
Hmm.
presidency.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Carson, Dr. Carson, excuse me.
We're opening the box and looking inside. Okay, so oh, since we're talking about sweets, um, our producer came across these products that that are pretty interesting that I'm actually looking forward to trying. See, I've recently become a vegan vegetarian because I still like cheese, and I still like honey, and I don't like the way that animals are treated that provide milk. Um, so that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get off of that. But I really still like cheese. I don't like the killing of animals anymore because I just can't deal with the treatment of the animals. So I don't eat meat. Um, but it becomes really difficult. It's really hard. Now, honey, on the other hand, personally for me, I don't really see a problem with it. Now, I know a lot of people do, but the reason I don't is because we're not raiding wild hives, you know, and destroying the wild hives. We actually have like little bee condominiums, and basically that's like their rent that they're paying is the honey kind of thing, and we try our best to protect them. Somebody did bring up the fact that bees still go out and they get poisoned, and I understand that that's horrible, but it's sort of like if you had a house that you were renting and then you left to go to work and you got shot and killed by some crazy guy in the street. That's not the problem of the owner of the house, as far as I'm concerned. But our producer, has found this vegan honey, and
What?
vegan vegan honey, and
Okay.
and I thought, how can you possibly get vegan honey? And so I looked at the website and I thought it was really interesting. And so she ordered it, and that's what's in this box. It's a sample box of vegan honey. So there are 4 bottles, and it's called Bee Free. Bee Free, and they're clever, so they don't get into a lawsuit with the manufacturers of honey. They actually spell honey HONEE, and this is bee-free honey.
All right.
And this another bottle. And so what I found interesting was when I looked at the honey online. When I looked at the honey online, I thought, well, how can you do this? What's it made of? And it's actually natural. So what they did was they made the honey using apples. Okay, so basically they've taken apples and they've reduced the juice into like a honey, which is pretty good. And then they've been able to actually go ahead and flavor it. So, for instance, this one here is bee-free mint honey made with apples, and this one is bee-free honey made with apples. I think this one's just the regular. I'll have to taste this and try it out. And this one here is from. This one is actually a combination method, I guess. It's made from elm and apples. So we'll give these a try, and I'll report back. They're called plant-based bee-free honey, and then I'm sure that they'll get boycotted by bees, or maybe they won't, you know. I got to admit, this is actually better because when you think about it, honey from bees is really bee vomit. It really is. It's bee vomit.
It is, and it tastes really good.
Yeah, it's like it's bee vomit. And so I actually can't wait to try those. I'll probably try like some honey on toast or some in tea, and I'll see how it goes. I will not put it in coffee.
So I don't know why they did. I know, yeah, but I don't know why they just didn't call this honey substitute Applebee's.
Call it Applebee's. Well, the reason they don't call it Applebee's is because people would just think that it's trash.
I'm guessing you don't like that restaurant.
No, actually, I like Applebee's. It's a good family restaurant. I can't eat at them anymore because they serve so much meat. They don't have like a good selection for vegetarians and definitely not for vegans. They're not a vegan friendly restaurant.
So last week I thought you were paleo.
Well, you can be paleo and vegan at the same time.
Okay.
Because all you're doing with a paleo diet is you're trying to eat more natural and not as much artificial and chemical. And so with a vegan diet, you're just cutting out the meat protein portion, replacing it with something else.
But you said you were going to put that honey stuff on toast. That's not paleo.
Well, that depends because toast is made from many different things, my friend. Like for instance,
like grain.
Yeah, like grain, but you're lumping grains all together. So, for instance, when you look at breads, for example, you have white bread, which is the worst bread for you because it's so bleached and there's nothing healthy about it. But when you go the other side, like you look at like say rye or whole wheats or whole grains, those can be better for you.
They're not, though.
Are we going to have an internet fight here?
Put up your dukes.
Yeah, whole grains, and when I say whole grains, I mean the kind of bread that you can actually see the freaking whole grain in. It just doesn't say it on the outside. It's the same as just eating the plant right out the field.
Grains have problems. That's what paleo is, that you avoid grains. Grains, legumes, and dairy.
Well, I'm avoiding certain parts of paleo, okay? It's like Atkins, okay? People go, oh, Atkins diet. You're avoiding eating all non-protein. avoid eating carbs and you're just eating proteins. But technically, if you're trying to lose weight, the true Atkins diet should be you eat nothing.
Yeah, if you want to lose weight, just don't eat crap.
No, don't eat it all. Matter of
No,
fact, I think that yeah, you can. I've heard that you can actually survive on nothing but sunshine.
all
Matter of
right,
fact, you
no,
told me about that guy.
all right. Yes, Genesis Sunfire. I don't know if
Genesis
people are ready to
Sunfire.
hear. It's like Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, he supposedly survives off of sunshine.
Genesis Sunfire. There you go.
There you
He
go.
generates body tissue from sunfire.
Oh my god.
I still have yet to show you the videos. I showed them to Anna, and she was actually convinced for a day. And then the next day, she was like, "No, I don't know what I was thinking." Look
Uh,
on
the guy's a living solar cell. Uh, so one of the things I wanted to bring up, it's actually going to lead into one of the things you wanted to talk about, is I came across a new website called Pacific Northwest Stories. It's actually not new, but they've had a reboot and they've got some interesting things. So if you like the concept of kind of scary out there stories of the supernatural or things like that, I recommend it. It's Pacific Northwest, or actually pnwstories.com, and they're very entertaining. And I'm listening to two of the shows on there. One of them is called Tanis, I think that's how it's said, and the other one is the Black Tapes. And seriously, if you like listening to things that'll creep you out, kind of spooky, that'll make you look twice at shadows, things like that, I would recommend them. The Black Tapes, it covers a lot of well, not urban legends, but like legends of the Northwest, not Bigfoot, but like the Shadow Man, that kind of thing, shadow people and stuff. It's pretty fun, you know. I came from Alaska, so living in Alaska, I used to get a lot of stories about things that live out in the woods, and you know old Eskimo legends and fun stuff. And this actually kind of reminded me of that. So if you like that kind of thing, that kind of story, I definitely recommend Pacific Northwest Stories, or PNW Stories is what I recommend. That's one of the things I recommend. So you've been up to the Pacific Northwest a few times to visit family, and that seems like it would be a good place to experience some outdoors.
Yeah, I've also seen the Twilight series.
Yeah, if I see glittery people, I just stake them. Just stake them. If you see somebody like glittery like that, just stake them.
Yeah, I mean, with my whole focus on bodily health and everything like that, I don't know. I've always looked at certain things that I've eaten have made my skin shimmer and shine sometimes, but in the end, they really turned out to be they've turned out to be terrible. So I guess if people really want to know what that thing was, have you ever heard of something called microplant powder, which is essentially basically just ground up microorganism shells. So these little small organisms in the water, they form these little shells, like a kind of in the sea life with hermit crabs. They have these shells around them, and then they just grind that up, and it's mostly made of silica, and that's composed of like collagen and skin and everything. And when I had it, I looked very clear, like little pockets, little dots of zits or acne would clear up right away, and my skin would be really smooth. I'd shimmer and shine, especially right here. But then it started building up on my spine and in my arteries in my joints because I was having way too much of it. And now if I have anything with silica in it, it just it just makes my spine hurt. It makes my gives me chest pain. It makes my joints hurt. So I developed a sensitivity to it. But I did shimmer.
Oh God, that whole shimmering thing. I think it's so bizarre that you take great legends like vampires and just destroy them. Hey, so anyhow, going outside and hiking, like when I was in Alaska, when I grew up in Alaska, we spent a lot of time outdoors. Because that was before the invention of the video game. So we went outside a lot, did a lot of hiking. And since I've lived in California, I've realized people don't do that nearly as much with the camping and hiking. And you being a health guy and things, you actually recommend getting out and joining nature, like we spoke in the last last show. You were talking about foraging out in the woods. So what else do you recommend about being out in the woods besides digging shallow graves?
I was going to mention that you were surprised about what you said about you were surprised that people didn't tend to go outside as much, given that California has so much natural beauty. And I was thinking, well, people do go outside, and when you go up and meet them, you go like, "Oh, hello. Oh, I am from the Netherlands." You're like, "Do you have the googly?"
Yeah, people from foreign countries just love outdoors in California. People from California just peer out of a window.
Yeah. So what else can you do when you go outdoors? Oh, well, I mean, aside from the obvious stuff, there's camping and there's hiking, which they have a lot of that I've done especially.
Yeah, so
And
up in the Northwest, did you go hiking when you were up there?
yeah, we went to I think it was called City Park
Okay.
or some.
How do you feel that it compares to like California, like the Bay Area?
Oh yeah, well we did do a few things. I think that I think it's is it the Vancouver River? I don't know. What's that river that runs in between Washington and Oregon? The Columbia?
I think it's Columbia.
Yeah, so just that area, that river, as it's getting closer to the ocean, it gets so majestic, and then there's just the evergreen trees. I guess it's mostly pine and Douglas fir or fir trees, and there's just so much more water there. So it's just during the warmer months with more sun, it's so green, and there's just the waterfalls are much much bigger, and then the rivers are much wider, and it's just I remember walking along this trail with my sister, my older sister and husband. They live in the area now, and with my other sister as well, who's in Redwood City. We were walking along the trail, and then I just looked to my right, and I was like, okay, there's an enormous river. And then I looked back to just focus walking on the trail, and then I looked again, and I was like, that is a huge, huge river. And especially since we were in the drought in California, and seeing that much water, that was just surprising. And then I thought to myself, that is a lot of water. And I wasn't even looking at the Columbia River. I was looking at one of these offshoots from the mountains that were nearby the Columbia River, the hills nearby the Columbia River. And so just going there and sightseeing, you just see lots and lots of water, lots and lots of greenery. It's just much more vibrant. And the park that we went to, the city park, was right next to Portland, Oregon. It was literally right next to it. In fact, I think it was actually officially part of Portland, and yet it felt as though you were just lost in the woods. And I think yeah, the general atmosphere is, around here you get more of the redwoods. You get a little more of a Mediterranean feel as far as the climate. and then up there it's just green, 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 and it's like a forest, a very much more thick forest, and yeah, I don't know what else to say.
I like that. It's green, 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 and I just memorize. That's actually one of the things that I really miss about Alaska is how green it is and the whole outdoor and how dark years living down here because of the you know. So I know what you mean. Getting in touch with nature and seeing your. I know what you mean. Getting in touch with nature. I've been told to get a little breakup. How is this a little better? Better?
Your image is frozen.
My image is frozen.
Uh,
How about that?
it's moving now,
Okay.
uh, and you're very pixelated.
Okay. I'm pixelated. I'm gonna have to look into that and figure out what's going on. So right now I'm gonna drop a little information just for the fun of it, start trying to come up with some new segments and everything. And I'm gonna call this segment hashtag of the day or the hashtag of the show, which is going to be a Twitter hashtag for those of you who want to go out and tweet and have some fun with it. And today's Twitter hashtag is Trump loves Pecker. Now, if you don't know who Pecker is the owner and editor of Inquirer magazine, Inquirer, the National Enquirer, and Donald Trump and him have been very good friends for a long time. And he made comments about how he likes his friend, Mr. Pecker. So the hashtag that's been going around is Trump loves Pecker. So go out and use that. Put out a tweet and don't forget to say Trump loves Pecker. Because it's so funny to say. Okay, so God, hay fever, and there's not even any hay here. I just have allergies, fighting them all the time. Uh, Recently had to take my cat to the vet. Am I still frozen?
You're a lot better now.
Oh, okay, good. Recently had to take one of my cats to the vet, and I got to tell you, there is nothing more traumatic than dealing with your pet at the vet. I know there are people who go, "Oh, it's just a cat." Well, you know what I say to those people? Yeah, well, you're just a human. You're no better.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I had to take Max to the vets. Turned out he was having kidney problems, and so we had to put him in, have those flushed, and I asked the doctor, because I want to understand, what's going on and how to take care of things, so on and so forth. So I asked the doctor seriously, like, if this had not been um, dealt with, if he hadn't been brought into the vet, things like that, how long would he have lived? And she said probably about a week.
Yeah.
I got to step off. I got to cry a little bit. Now I feel better. So I'm going to pick up Max later on today. He's been in the vets for a couple days. He's getting his kidneys flushed, and he'll be coming home. We've got to put him on an IV, so, and give him fluids, and he should be okay. but that's how he's doing. Now, the reason I brought that up is because there are a lot of people who have pets, have animals, and you really should. If I, yeah, I know it's not easy because there's no like Obama pet care, but you really should try to get your pets into the vet and have them checked, and you know, because having them checked on a regular basis in the long run is actually cheaper than waiting till there's some sort of an emergency. But be kind to your pets, and your pets will be kind to you.
They're just a bundle of unconditional love.
No, there are conditions. Trust me, with cats, there are conditions to their love.
All right.
they they are a little bit on the demanding side, but they're good. They're good. Really enjoy the cats. Let's see. So, Charles, I remember we talked about this a bit, and it was about ourselves that you had expressed to me that we don't reveal enough about ourselves or let people know. So I'm trying to get more into the comfort range of letting people know more about who Ardell is.
All
And
right.
and I know that you're trying to do the same. So I'm going to ask you a few questions about yourself and let you let people know who you are. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, great. So where were you on June 13th?
Of what year?
It's just a joke. Just turned it into an interrogation. Charles Hall. Charles Hall, tell me about yourself, Charles Hall.
Okay. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I lived here for 26 years. I was originally born in Tennessee, and my parents moved across the country to come to the Bay Area because my dad found work, and my older sister and I went with them. Obviously, we didn't have a choice, and they took us there. We stopped off places along the way, and
Oh, this is America. There was a choice. You could have been left at a Piggly Wiggly.
well, the joke is that I was at the Grand Canyon when it was 4 weeks old. My dad didn't throw me in. That's why I'm here today. And I have three sisters, one older and two younger. I am one of the middle children, and look how I turned out.
Thanks for clearing that up. You actually told us you had one older and two younger. And then just to clear up any confusion, you let us know that you were one of the ones in the middle.
Well, I'm just making that. I know I'm doing the thinking for people as I'm talking, so I just made it one step easier for them to say that. So versus them actually having to think about it, I told them I am one of the middle
One of the
children.
middle children, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
There's
the one. You're the one that's not a girl.
anyways, yeah, that's basically how I grew up with a bunch of sisters, and in San Jose, South Bay. I studied global studies in university, and I went to Hong Kong for 6 months. And yeah, I got into healthcare after that, and started my own business around health and wellness. I'm very much into health, and yeah, a couple things that I do on the side are I do home care and I do deliveries for DoorDash, which is like the Uber of food delivery. So it's not quite health related. I mean, it is in a way. I mean, I'm giving people food, but I don't have any control.
Yeah, they place an order, and no matter what it is, it comes from a healthy restaurant.
But that would be a perfect world, and it's not. So
Actually, they should actually come up with a food delivery service called Surprise Me, where you just call in and just give sort of a vague idea of what it is you want, and then they just show up with something, you know. It's like, yeah, I want something that's kind of like homey, something like my mom would make, that would remind me of, just something like that. That's what I'm into. And then you show up and you've got like a nice bowl of soup for them. Wow, this is great. That'll be $11.
I could have made this myself for $2. Yeah, and so I don't know, I just do that, and then one thing that the reason why we're even talking right now is that I was involved with Toastmasters, and I just been doing that for about 4 years, for almost 4.5 years now, and continuing to work on my communication skills because I've always had a problem.
Well, Charles, since you did bring up Toastmasters and I hadn't brought it up myself, a lot of people don't know what Toastmasters is, and I remember that there was one time that you actually explained what Toastmasters was. Do you remember what it was that you told us?
No.
Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with Toastmasters, Charles, it's a group of people who get together to practice speaking or to participate in public speaking to better their capability at being able to speak in various situations. Our club was primarily based around the concept of starting your own business and having to give speeches explaining what your businesses are to potential investors. So we were called startup speakers, or we are still called startup speakers. And they still have meetings on Wednesdays at Plug and Play, which is in Sunnyvale, California, for anybody who may be interested in going there. And what time do those meetings start, Charles?
7 a.m. Wednesday.
7 a.m. 7 a.m. Wednesday, and you can come down and check out a meeting and see if you're interested in Toastmasters and maybe join. I myself am a award-winning Toastmaster, which
You
sounds
are.
really weird. I've participated in competitions and actually have taken trophies for public speaking. Tall Tales and 2 international speaking competitions. And matter of fact, I've coached Charles into winning an award for international speech, right, Charles?
Yep, I made it all the way to the division level, which is one level before the district level. That's the highest level that the competition could have gone to, which encompasses, I don't know, 25 cities or something like that in the whole Bay Area, including the more southern region. And it was very nerve-wracking. When I got to that, I got third place at the highest level, and I'd say when I gave that speech, I was the most nervous that I'd ever been in my whole life.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing that that's kind of fun about Toastmasters is the competitions and just being able to speak and learn how to speak so that you aren't nervous in front of a large group of people. But like this kind of conversation between Charles and I is pretty easy because I know for a fact that no one is listening to us.
Well,
Uh,
I'd have to say that I wish no one was listening to me when I blanked out hardcore at that division level contest because I literally didn't know my name. And I just kept talking. I don't even remember exactly what I said, but I eventually remembered. It all came back to me. So if you ever want to experience a bout of amnesia, without hitting your head really hard or taking malaria drugs when you're going to India, you just do a competition and try to be funny.
Now, what a lot of people always think Toastmasters is that we actually spend our time mastering the usage of a toaster.
Were you the one who sent me that video?
Yes,
Yes, that was an excellent video.
And that is not what a Toastmaster is. But if you'd like to be able to, if you'd like to be able to give a nice little speech at a wedding um, telling your friends how wonderful they are and how great they are going to be together in their future. That's one of the things Toastmasters is great for.
And that's what I did. I mean, I gave a speech at my oldest sister's wedding. They had a light ceremony, and I gave a 3-minute speech,
That's
and
good. Now
it went over really well. They
we're
really,
gonna
really.
we're gonna have to talk about that. I had no idea that your older sister had gotten married.
Really?
Yeah, really. But
Oh
that's
my gosh.
okay. Yeah, it's that's a whole nother
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to catch up on that.
Okay, so I had mentioned earlier a movie called It Follows, and you said you have not seen that.
Nope. I have not seen it.
Well, it's been around for probably about a year now, and it's a very good film. It's very independent. It kind of reminds you of if you've ever seen Blair Witch.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds you of that in the sense that it is not your typical Hollywood type film. It's very independent. It covers some things very new, and it is a slightly disturbing film. And I say slightly from my perspective. For other people, it is an extremely disturbing film. But one of the things that I think is really interesting about the film that I'm pretty sure the director didn't even plan on doing is that the film is really the about being followed by an entity that will catch you, will kill you if it ever catches you, and it just walks. It doesn't drive in cars. It doesn't try to trick you by getting ahead of you, by knowing where you're going and getting ahead of you and jumping out from behind a tree. It just follows you. So you could get in a car and drive away from it, but if you stay in one place too long, it will catch up because it just never stops. It keeps coming. And the other thing is, only you can see it. So like when you try to point it out to your friends are completely unaware. They have no concept, and you're just constantly worried about someone being behind you. Now, the reason I say that this film is slightly disturbing for me is because I couldn't totally relate to the film. And here's what I mean. The film is it takes place in like the Pacific Northwest. In the community is they're all white. Everybody's white, which is not a problem. So for them, the whole concept of being followed and having this constant fear that whatever's behind you is going to eventually kill you is something that I sort of deal with on a daily basis. Being black, you know, I've been to stores where I've gone shopping, walking along, and suddenly realize I'm being followed. Somebody's following me, and I've turned to my friends that were with me and said, "Hey, is there somebody following me?" And they just don't see it. And one of the reasons they don't see it is because they have nothing to base that on. That feeling of being followed. Um, when I finally am able to point it out and they realize, oh my God, that person is following us. And then when they kind of peel off, they realize, oh no, that person is following you. And then there's always that feeling when you're black and you see a cop car pull behind you for a moment. It's like they're going to get you. And then with the current atmosphere, it's like that's death right there. Is the police. It's not warranted fear with every cop car you see or every person who's behind you, but it's something that's there. So I kind of felt that the film was really good at kind of showing whites what it's like to be a young black person in living in America. You just
Mm.
try to make it through your life, and hopefully the person behind you isn't trying to kill you. you know
How recent is that film?
how recent? Uh, think it came out 2015. Yeah, it's pretty good. I actually I enjoyed it. Um, I think you should watch it. I think you might like it.
All right. Thanks for the recommendation.
That is no problem, my friend. Absolutely no problem. So, since I asked you a lot about your life, feel free to ask me anything about mine.
Yeah, sure, Adele. I do know a few bits and pieces
Do you? Do you really?
of your life, not of your body.
Thank God.
Anyways, I guess. Well, I mean, what would you want to tell me? I figure, what would you want the listeners to know?
What would I want the listeners to know? Well, I'd like the listeners to read my book. Go out and get it. It's on Audible. Being read by Jeff Daniels.
All right.
Actually, I wish I did have a book being read by Jeff Daniels. I'm actually been listening to several books by him. He's quite a good reader. I'm listening to the Iron Druid series, and that's the series that I actually suggested to you to read.
Hmm.
Okay, so what most people don't know about me is that I am I was born in Germany. And it's hard to tell because I dye my hair, and which is much funnier when my hair is all black. People look at it and go, "You better dye that hair." Now I'm from Germany. I was born there. My dad was in the Air Force. My mother was also an American, so I am 100% American citizen, and I can run for president. And I'm willing to challenge Donald Trump into trying to prove that I can't run for president. And I speak much faster than Dr. Ben Carson. But then again, if you needed some twins separated, I definitely wouldn't call me.
No,
Definitely not. Yeah. It's like, oh, please separate our twins. I don't
all
think so.
right. I'm gonna put one here. I'm gonna put one here.
Separate them.
No, 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 no.
What,
You
you
can't do that.
crazy? They're attached. How can you separate them?
I don't know. Get an axe.
Oh my goodness. So, um,
What are some of the things that you like to do, Ardell? What are some of your hobbies, and where
oh,
did they?
what do I
How did you
like to do?
how did you find out that you like to do that? And I guess how did it evolve if you want to get into it?
Oh, okay. Well, some of my hobbies are hiking. No, actually, slow walks on the beach. No, actually, what I love to do is I write comedy, and I do stand up when I can. Um, if you follow me on Twitter at Ardell Smith, you'll see a lot of my jokes. One of the things I really try to work on is being able to write jokes within a Twitter format, which is really difficult because you're only allowed like 140 characters.
It's like a headline, yeah.
Yeah, so writing good, funny material um, is challenging. So I use that as a challenge. I also do some short form writing, um, which you can also follow that I post on Facebook. You can follow that at um, what is it? Ardell Smith Soapbox on Facebook. You can go there and see some of my short form writing and some of the causes I support. Matter of fact, I had that's something I was going to cover. I just remembered. Thanks for reminding me, Charles.
All
Something
right.
that I definitely wanted to mention. Okay, so um, our producer has recently pointed out some very interesting things that I've looked into. In
You froze. Where'd you go?